There are things we instinctually fear, things that repulse us, that our morals and sometimes very being resist and rage against. But what if those impulses were not simply self-preservation, but the echoes of something else, something primal and in the code for all life everywhere? What if there was a first instance of true evil in the universe, one that affected things on such a scale that it left that fear burned into life itself? Hi all, Rick here. With the wrapping of Season 3 of Strange New Worlds, spoilers ahead by the way, I thought it about time to cover the rumoured earliest evil of the galaxy. So, where did they come from? Countless millions of years ago, we don't know when, a species existed that was in the pursuit of immortality through quantum manipulations and by seeking to understand the very nature of the universe. It is suggested that this might have been the Q in their earliest times, already a multi-galactic empire before there was even life on Earth. Whoever they were or are is irrelevant, because it is not they, but what they unleashed that is the focus of this video. Beyond the edge of creation between the realms or from beyond understanding, these would-be immortals let them in. The Vezda, a malevolent force that personified everything the universe would come to associate with evil, spite and cruelty foremost among their drives. In this early era, before intergalactic life was teeming, the Vezda spread across numerous worlds, infecting them, bringing death from the dark. That is how they travelled, through unseen ley lines of the universe, folds where the structure of all creation formed seams, canals that could be slid through. Where these connections intersected planets, the Vezda could emerge and possess the population, intruding into our realm. Those who let them in failed to kill them. After all, they were bringers of death themselves, and nothing they could do could destroy the Vezda. But eventually, they found a way to contain them. Small spheres could capture and contain the evil essences, holding them for eternity, and soon a conflict was undertaken that reined in the threat. They collected all of these capsules onto the planet Vadia IX, and using their unrivaled understanding of space-time and causality, they formed the perfect prison for them. The warden placed there was the Beholder, to stand eternal vigil over the captives, embodying the power required to reseal them should they ever escape. But, in this realm where cause and effect are mixed, the Beholder had always existed and would continue to do so even though they had not been created yet. The genius of this prison was in its paracausality. Call it destiny, call it paradoxes, call it fate, it doesn't matter. What matters is that these beings had foreseen the events of the Vezda prison, and the acts their escape attempt would instill, thus ensuring their perpetual captivity. Instructions for freeing the Vezda were written in the native languages of those involved, and set up across Vadia and Skygawan, setting the predetermined path that the inevitable escape attempt would follow. The portal to Vadia on Skygawan in particular was written to draw the attention of Joseph Mbenga, while the doors to Vadia would only unlock for Christine Chapel via genetic lock, to lure all the players to their proper positions in this predetermined performance. The reign of terror that the Vezda would instill would go on to leave not only mythology in 1,000 cultures across the stars, but markers in the genetics of the life forms they endangered. These traits would eventually converge eons later in Captain Marie Battelle, again through chance that was no longer chance. The threat contained, the advanced species continued their experiments and ascended onto some other existence, but they did not interfere with the Vezda again. After all, they didn't need to. Events were already predestined. The ruins of Vadia IX were eventually pilfered by an unknown team of scavengers who managed to unlock the prison enough to bring out a single Vezda containment orb. But then they perished from dehydration, unable to leave. Thousands of years later, their remains were found by the Enterprise away team, following the trail of Dr. Roger Corby as he traced the remnants of this long-vanished civilization. This single orb, removed from the depths of the well that contained the multitude of them, had weakened over its time spent apart, and when the orb was picked up by Dana Gamble, it burst free and the entity within, named Zeperez, possessed him. The following events saw it toy with the crew of the Enterprise, using Gamble's memories and personality to both disguise and manipulate the crew, including Gamble's mentor, Dr. Mbenga. When Zeperez was forced out of Gamble's corpse, Scotty captured it again in its weakened orb and beamed the orb into the transporter, holding it indefinitely in the buffer. However, this would prove to be a mistake, as the Vezda are apt at manipulating space-time themselves, eventually familiarizing itself with the transporter systems enough to restore a new vessel for itself in the form of Dana Gamble once again. There it waited, in transporter stasis, somehow still aware and active, until the Enterprise passed over one of these old ley lines that they had used in times past. Travelling through it, it rematerialised on Skygarn, discovering the gateway there back to Vadia. Interpreting the messages on the gate there, it lured the Enterprise to it, realising that Joseph Mbenga was needed to open the gateway, inadvertently bringing with them Marie Battelle, the very being that was unwittingly designed to seal the Vezda. Once Battelle was awakened to the threat, she understood her role as the beholder to the jail and beamed down to confront Zeperez. In that moment, in that place, Battelle had control over everything she needed to contain the Vezda, the paracausal puzzle set up eons before falling into place, as it technically always had. She assumed the role of the beholder in the moment of her destruction, closing that predestined loop and recapturing all the Vezda once more. So, what are the Vezda? While non-corporeal energy beings, they do have an assumed form of a spectral lizard-like creature with mandibles, teeth, and an elongated, writhing body. They do not register on scans or sensors and can possess others. However, their possession instantly kills the host, while they gain access to all the memories of the victim. They exhibited the ability to read minds too. Early on, the Vezda does seem to be bound by the limits of the form they have taken. This does not remain the case, as they display the ability to pierce force fields, although not withstand phaser fire. Their vessel did not decompose nor heal when possessed. Dematerializing them via transporter does not put them into stasis, and in fact seems to do little more than inconvenience them. From within the transporter system, they can effectively manipulate it, with Zeperez learning how to recreate a body from the buffered form of Gamble. Although it's worth noting that, while corporeal, this form seemed to lack permanence, as when the Vezda departed it, it would begin to dematerialize. Whether due to the time spent outside of captivity or its new form, the Vezda was capable of more in its second iteration. From here, it displayed the ability to exude energy in a destructive fashion, using it as blasts to knock back or inflict pain and damage around it. This energy appeared in the form of a dark smoke. What is truly horrible, however, is that the Vezda's parasitic behaviour seems to delight them. They took pleasure in the torment, cruelty, and twisting of the knife that often accompanied the reanimation and puppeteering of the deceased, often specifically singling out those who the victim knew in life, spitefully seeking to torment them with words. These extra-dimensional beings faded into the mythology of multiple species, and due to their ancient origin were suggested as being the root for the concept of evil, or at least many tales regarding evil acts. Their weakness seems to be that they fortunately lack an ability to alter reality on the scale of their captors, and were unaware of the trap they were caught in, always predetermined to escape and then be captured again in a perpetual cage. We have seen similar beings in the past, both in extra-dimensional threats and in the form of entities too powerful to be destroyed. Par-wraiths bear a lot of similarities, for example, but are distinctly different entities, while the Loom are threats from beyond the multiverse that devour unstable timelines themselves. There are all sorts of truly cosmic-level threats out there in Star Trek, and I love it when we get glimpses into this sort of esoteric level of science that is so far beyond what the denizens of the Milky Way would typically imagine. The universe is vast and old, because it's everything, but entities that intruded like the Vezda suggest that perhaps it's not everything, and there are scarier things out there still undiscovered. Cosmic horror is fun. Thanks for watching this breakdown on the Vezda, the Beholder, and the prison of Vadia IX. I've been Rick, and until the next one, goodbye.